This is Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States and the Democrat presidential nominee for 2024. With less than 2 weeks to go before Election Day, Kamala Harris appeared on a CNN presidential town hall, where she began her closing argument to America why voters should cast their ballot for her over Donald Trump.
Yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve. Unfit and dangerous. He has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. He should never again serve as President of the United States. Talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is. Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. He who has openly admired dictators said he would be a dictator on day one. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff has said he is a fascist to the core.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. How he talks about the military, servicemen and women, referring to them as suckers and losers. He will not obey an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. He himself has said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States. No one standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America should be in that position saying they want to terminate the Constitution of the United States.
So despite promises of a new way forward, Kamala Harris is making the same argument the Democrats have been making against Donald Trump since at least 2016. And it's very apparent that it's the only argument that she can make.
So my question is concerning groceries. Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
You're absolutely right. You know it, I know it, I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
We will have a national ban on price gouging, which is companies taking advantage of the desperation and need of the American consumer and jacking up prices without any consequence or accountability.
Kamala Harris is promising to go after price gouging corporations, despite the fact that A, she's the current vice president and could take action now, and B, never mentioned price gouging a single time during the first 1,278 days of her vice presidency.
Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach, grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging.
So in a shocking development, CNN's Anderson Cooper actually followed up and questioned her plan regarding this so-called price gouging.
Let me just ask you about price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know, and obviously CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue.
So without proof, Kamala claims that price gouging supposedly occurred during Hurricanes Milton and Helene. But even so, what do two hurricane events in the final months of 2024 have anything to do with the last 3.5 years? Oh right, it doesn't. So the question to Kamala Harris was, what would you do to lower grocery prices? And again, she didn't answer it because she couldn't answer it. But you know, price gouging.
I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people.
Ever notice that she spends more time talking about being an attorney general and a prosecutor, more than she talks about her accomplishments as vice president?
I started my career as a prosecutor. One of the areas I specialized in as a prosecutor was crimes against women and children. I've personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. As Attorney General, I have personally prosecuted. As I mentioned earlier, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a courtroom prosecutor in my career as a prosecutor. When I was Attorney General of California, I was Attorney General of what is the 5th largest economy in the world. I spent most of my career as a prosecutor. As I said, I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. As Attorney General of California.
The next question Kamala Harris was asked is essentially a staple of presidential politics.
If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be and why?
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, but I think that maybe part of this point that how I think about it is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics, slowing down what we need to do in terms of progress in our country. And that means working across the aisle.
This should have been a layup, but Kamala Harris is so bad at this that she couldn't even provide the simplest of answers. So Anderson Cooper had to give her a not-so-subtle reminder.
Let me ask you, you've talked about codifying Roe v. Wade. That would obviously require 60 votes in the Senate, a majority of the House. That's a big leap. We don't have that yet. If that's not possible to codify it in the House, what do you do?
I think we need to take a look at the filibuster, to be honest with you.
So despite claiming only seconds earlier that she will work across the aisle, Kamala Harris suggested that she'll tell Democrats in the Senate to get rid of the filibuster so that she can pass everything that she deems important. I know you're shocked. Then Kamala Harris was questioned about the Biden-Harris border policy. You know, the one where they allowed millions and millions of illegal immigrants to swamp the border. So, you know what she did? She immediately started bragging about how border crossings are down since Biden's executive order back in May.
As of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration
But if it was
low.
that easy with that executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action.
Do you wish you'd done those executive orders in 2022, 2023?
I think we did the right thing.
And this answer was so bad that it even stunned Donald Trump.
She said during that town hall she believes they've handled the border correctly. CNN pressed her on it. Would you have done anything different? Do you regret anything? And she said, quote, I think we did the right thing.
Now, wait a minute, that she's handled it correctly?
Correct.
She said that?
She said that. She said, quote, I think we did the right thing.
If she said that, look, she's a grossly incompetent person. And if she said that, they had the worst border in history.
I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in.
I mean, you did raise your hand saying in a debate when asked if border crossing should be decriminalized, but obviously that is not your position.
I never intended, nor will I ever allow America to have a border that is not secure. I believe we need to deal with illegal immigration. There needs to be consequences.
Oh, but there have been consequences though, Kamala. Just not for the illegal immigrants.
Let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
Says the vice president who hasn't contributed a single solution to the border during her entire tenure in the White House.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall.
You don't hate Kamala Harris enough.
How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
And of course, Kamala's response was full of lies, so let's debunk them. First, on August 25th of this year, Trump visited the southwest border in Arizona, and the Washington Post published an article with the headline, Trump event at wall Obama built highlights an unkept promise. The Republican nominee heaped praise on a section of barrier that was actually built by his predecessor. But the problem was that the Washington Post's reporting was incorrect, and a portion of the wall that Trump was standing in front of was built under the Bush administration. So the Washington Post was forced to correct their article, albeit quietly. But as far as Kamala's claim that Trump only built 2% of the border wall that he promised, even CNN had to admit that this claim is exaggerated and pointed to a January 2021 status report from US Customs and Border Protection and the US Army Corps of Engineers that showed that 458 miles of new primary and secondary border wall system had been constructed. That status report also states that they had suspended wall construction projects in compliance with the president's proclamation signed on January 20th, 2021. That's right, on the very first day, President Joe Biden suspended construction of the wall through executive order. And then the Biden-Harris administration auctioned off hundreds of millions of dollars worth of border wall material for pennies on the dollar. You know, because border security or something. So Kamala Harris, who said, quote, "Let me be very clear, I'm not going to vote for a wall under any circumstances," is now bashing Trump for not completing the wall that she herself fought tooth and nail against. Makes sense to me. What's your problem?
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
Translation, a President Kamala Harris isn't going to construct a single inch of border wall. And finally, a preview of the next 4 to 8 years of a Kamala Harris presidency.
You've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done. And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
Oh, my brain hurts.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
And on that cringe note, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. If there is a next time.